All right, welcome back to another video, and today I wanted to talk about different ways that you can support someone who is dealing with ADHD. If you yourself have it, or your loved one has it, or someone you care about has it, or you just want to know how to best support someone who does have ADHD, then today's video is going to be for you. My name is Matt. I'm a therapist in private practice. I own a group practice as well as facilitate a coaching community to help people with ADHD and executive function problems. I'll leave a link down below to all those things in the description. You can check that out. But without wasting any time, let's actually just talk about the ways in which you can support someone who has ADHD. All right, we're going to just jump right into it. I have 4 items that I wanted to highlight today. All right, and the first one is that I was trying to think, should I say which one's most important? I think they're actually all important. So without quantifying them, let's just do the first one. And that is to learn as much as you can about ADHD. All right. I don't just mean learning about it from TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, although those can sometimes be valuable resources. You want to learn about it from a scholarly perspective as well. Right? Now, you don't have to be going and reading research articles, although I do think that could be helpful, but you want to read material that's written by experts in the field, right? And I can suggest a few. Again, I'll leave links down below in the description, but one person I often recommend people check out when it comes to learning about ADHD is Dr. Russell Barclay. He is arguably one of the top experts in ADHD, and he's written a number of books for people, done a lot of research, and has really been a pioneer in the field. And he has a book titled ADHD. That's a great one to check out. He also has workbooks for people. He just has a whole bunch of resources. His own website is also very good to look at. But I suggest starting with someone like him because he has he's done a bunch of research, right? So he comes from that angle. He's worked with people who have ADHD, so he has the real world experience, and he's able to write it in a way that can help lay people understand it as well. So you don't need to be someone with a PhD or an expert to read his material, although some of it is like that. But his other books, like ADHD, gives you a really good understanding of what ADHD is. All right, but number one is just learning as much as you can about ADHD, becoming an expert in the subject. All right. I often find that people who want to support folks with ADHD don't know that much about it. And why would they if they're not dealing with it, or it's not something they specialize in? It's hard to imagine anyone would know much about it. But taking the time to really learn goes a really, really long way. When I used to work at a hospital, and when we'd have family meetings, this wasn't just ADHD, but a variety of different issues. One of the biggest things we would suggest would be to learn as much as you can about the particular issue that person you want to support is dealing with. All right, huge. It will go a really long way. Number 2, this is more of a mindset, is to assume that the person you want to support is their own expert. All right. And what do I mean by that? Now, when someone's struggling with an issue, right, you might think that they just want advice. They just want practical help. And so we start just, giving all this advice, all this support, practical, right? Like do this, do that. And although it might be well-intentioned, it's often not well received. And this is because oftentimes the people who are struggling with the issue, the person we're trying to help and support, knows best, right? And so we actually want to take that angle, assuming that that person knows what they need. Perhaps they don't know how to articulate it well, or maybe they're just learning about ways in which to express their needs. But when we take that angle, that the person struggling with the issue, the one we're trying to support, is their own expert, it really goes a long way. Rather than giving advice, we start asking questions. Rather than imposing support, we ask if it's okay to give support in a certain way. So that's number 2, would be to assume that the person you want to support is their own expert in whatever it is that they're struggling with. Okay. And number 3, it's similar to that, but it's to be open-minded. And to go a little further with that one, allow the person that you want to support to teach you about their experience. Right, in step one, we're talking about becoming an expert, reading material, reading books, learning about the issue. But in step three, we're actually allowing the person to teach us about their experience with that issue. So what's it like for that person to have ADHD? What's it like for that person to feel distracted a lot? What's it like for that person to deal with not being motivated frequently? Whatever the case may be, allow that person to teach you what it's like to have ADHD. Don't just assume. Don't just, if you read a book and you feel like, oh, inspired, like I know a lot more about it, don't just assume that this is that person's experience. Allow them to teach you, okay? And so that's number three. It involves having an open mind, adopting a curious mindset. Ask someone, what's this like, Create a space where it's safe to talk about it without judgment. Oftentimes, and this is just an example, when dealing with ADHD, procrastination is a common issue people deal with, or a lack of motivation. And a lot of times a well-intentioned person who wants to support that person will say, you're lazy, or, you're always doing this, how can I help you, this kind of thing. And this really closes someone down, right? They're not going to feel safe to share. So what we want to do is open up a space where someone can feel safe to tell you and share with you what their experience of procrastinating is like. We don't want to assume that we know what that's like, right? This goes a long way, okay? And number four would be to ask about ways in which you can help. Ask for permission before giving your support, right? And this is especially true for giving advice or practical guidance. It's a misconception that people are looking for that most of the time. A lot of times people just want to be heard and understood. So if you do want to give practical advice, you do want to give that support, ask for permission. Hey, would it be okay if I suggested this? Would it be okay if I shared this with you? Wait for that person to respond, and be okay with someone saying no. Not everyone's looking for practical advice. Maybe they just want you to hear them out. Whatever the case may be open to someone telling you no, right? To receiving the support you think they want. The support they actually want might be different. So in that case, always ask before giving the support, especially when it comes to advice. Okay. Now we went through 4 things. Of course, there's more to supporting someone with ADHD, but I think that these the 4 elements that we talked about today, if you can work on those, then it'll go a long way, and I can promise you that. All right. Hopefully this video was helpful for you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.